Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Friday, August the 23rd, and welcome to our commentary. Well, I'm driving, I should say. I'm on a little vacation here in East Texas, over here by Houston. So, a lot of things happening today, and I wanted to give you my take on a couple of big things. Of course, the Democrats, their convention that ended last night, the speech by Vice President Harris and the announcement today by Robert F. Kennedy that he's pulling out and endorsing President Trump. Let's talk a little bit about the vice president and that speech, the nomination acceptance speech from last night. Look, I thought overall it was a pretty mediocre speech. I don't think it's I've seen a bunch of these, and I wouldn't rank this one as one of the best ones that I've seen. Again, it's not terrible, but I've seen a lot better. I think the major weakness of the speech was, of course, the lack of substance, the lack of policy. We don't have any idea of what this lady believes or stands for. There's no position papers or anything. There are lots of videos that she made several years ago, but we don't know too much more about that. And some of those she has denied, like fracking and believing that. But, again, that has never come from her. She has never explained her position on any of these things. So, again, I don't know what to tell you other than I think the vice president is going to have to, at some point, put some substance in some of these things that she's saying, because so far we don't really know too much. As far as the convention itself, it seems like every other speaker was telling you how terrible Donald Trump is. That was the only thing that you kept hearing from this convention, and that is how terrible Donald Trump is and what a threat to democracy and all that other stuff that we've been hearing about. I think that message is honestly getting old, and it may work with the people who were at that convention because they probably hate Trump as much as anybody else. But I think when you get out to the public, particularly the independents who are not as caught up in these things as the people at the convention were, I just don't think that message by itself is going to carry a lot of support. Look, when people think of Trump, he was already president of the United States. We know that certain things that he did were very good as president, like the economy, the unemployment rate, obviously, the inflation, the price of gasoline, the border was much better, obviously, when Trump was president. The international situation, the energy policy, a lot of things were a lot better when Trump was president. And I think a lot of people remember that, particularly in contrast to this administration. So I don't think that message is gonna win the game or score a lot of points once you get out of the convention, or once you get out of an enthusiastic Democrat audience. So I just don't think that's going to work as well. The other thing, of course, is that this candidate, Vice President Harris, who is now the nominee of the Democrat Party, she keeps distancing herself from Kamala Harris, Vice President, and it's almost like you've got two people running. You've got Kamala Harris, this new person who's now the nominee of the Democrat Party, and you've got Vice President Harris, who, of course, has a record of an administration. So it seems like she's trying to be two things at one time, two people. She doesn't want you to think about the record of the administration that she's a part of, but at the same time, she wants you to believe that if she gets into office, she's going to do this and she's going to do that. I just don't think that's going to work once you get into a campaign, or especially once you have to start asking or answering questions from the media and having to take positions and getting questions about your different positions. I just don't think that's going to work. So on paper, it looks like a successful convention. It was. Everybody was very happy. But now begins the hard work. And the hard work, of course, is presenting a message to the American people with substance. And I have not heard anything to the moment like that. Now, the other big story, of course, was Senator Robert F. Kennedy dropping out and endorsing President Trump. I don't know how much of an impact this Kennedy decision is going to have? I just don't know, because we have a very difficult time measuring that. Is it going to be 2 points, 3 points in favor of Trump? That's what they're saying. But again, those things are hard to measure. We just don't know what the people who are committed to Kennedy are going to do once they have to decide between Biden and Harris. We don't know. So we'll have to wait a few days to get a better sense of that question. Now, the one thing I do think was very impressive of Robert F. Kennedy today is when he came down very hard on the Democrat Party for the way they managed this particular campaign by not allowing him to run in the primaries and by basically doing a sham primary. This is something, of course, many of us have been saying. Many Democrats have been saying this for quite some time. This is appears to be a political party that doesn't want to take primary voters very seriously. They want to manipulate the results. And I think the nomination of Vice President Harris is a perfect example of that. Here's a lady who 2 months ago was the vice president. She has never won anything. She has never won a primary. She has never really been in a debate against a Republican. She doesn't really have any positions on this or that. And now she's the nominee of the party. So within 30 days, they've put together a nominee, and now she's running for president. I mean, that's just not the way we usually do these things. And I think Kennedy was offended by that, and I'm glad that he brought that up. So again, what impact Robert Kennedy is going to have on this election? My guess, and just strictly a guess, is that it will help Trump a little bit. But again, you just don't know because the information is not very, very clear. But the Kennedy announcement, as well as the announcement a couple of days ago that 800,000 jobs were suddenly missing or disappeared or were no longer part of the count, if you will, simply highlights what happens in many of these campaigns. Once you start campaigning and you get out of the convention, you start dealing with surprises. And surprises happen, like Robert Kennedy announcing that he's endorsing Trump, and the information about the jobs, 800,000 jobs, that suddenly they don't exist. We had been, in essence, telling the American people about these jobs, and these jobs are not real. I think that's a major, major story that will have to be explained, not only from a bureaucratic standpoint, but the Harris campaign is going to have to explain what happened to the Biden-Harris economic record, because all of a sudden it doesn't have 800,000 jobs they told us that they were supposed to have. So again, surprises, surprises, surprises. That's what always happens in these campaigns. And we got two big ones this week about the jobs report and now about Robert F. Kennedy. So it's just going to be exciting. That's all I can tell you. It's going to be crazy, exciting, whatever word you want to use. And we'll know. Who knows what happens next week? I still will tell you, and I've said this before, I think that the vice president, Tim Walz, has a lot of vulnerabilities. His military record, not so much his record, we don't have a problem with that, but the fact that he has been exaggerating his record, giving himself a title that he doesn't have, stuff like that, that I think once he has to start asking questions, that I believe it could become very problematic for the Harris-Walz ticket. But again, we're just getting excited. We're just getting started, I should say. And we'll keep an eye on it here on the video. Have a great weekend, everybody. As I said, I'm traveling. I'm in the East Texas part of our wonderful state, where it's more humid, but the temperatures are pretty hot at the time. Thank you for listening. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you later.